It's what you're doing, it's making me feel like I'm falling.
Hey guys, for today's video, I am doing a dollar store makeover, also known as a Dollar Tree DIY. If you have been watching my channel from like the beginning of me posting art videos on YouTube, the first type of video I used to post was Dollar Tree DIYs.
Hello? Mom, we're going to the Dollar Tree.
Which is basically the same thing as a dollar store makeover. You go to the Dollar Tree, you pick something out, and you do a DIY idea with it. There is a theme for today's video: DIY room decor ideas. I already painted everything for this episode, and I have to say, I had a lot of fun painting these, and I really like the way they turned out. So I hope you guys like this one. They are fun bedroom decor ideas. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's see what we have for this video. For my first DIY room decor ideas. I went to the Dollar Tree and I picked up this cube with a flower on the front. Fun. I actually got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. And a brand new scissor that I am struggling to open. Got it. Now that our scissor is freed, we can snip open the plastic to reveal that there are actually 2 cubes. 1, the outside cube, and 2, the inside cube that has wood chips sticking off of it. An idea popped in my head. That really actually hurt. I ripped off the remaining plastic, and here we have it. All 4 cubes are free, and I'm turning them individually around to show you the bongos. No, just kidding. My goal was to arrange the cubes in a way that I could create a drawer situation, or a jewelry box setup. To achieve this, I took out my Elmer's Glue wood glue, which glues wood together, also remarkably hard to open. Once I had pried that wood glue top open, I applied a light layer of wood glue to cubes 1 and 2 and clamped them together using these little, that's a USB. Get that out of here. That's not what we're using. I clamped the 2 cubes together. I then took out cubes 3 and 4 and did the same thing. I put a light layer of wood glue, kind of mushed it around together so it got on both sides, and clamped them. Once I had both of those parts, it was time to glue them together. The reason I'm using a paintbrush with glue is actually because wood glue is very thick and you kind of need to smooth it out first. Then I stuck them together, kind of gave them a good mush so it got on both sides, and clamped them. Since these are cubes and I kind of couldn't clamp the back side, the other side had a little bit of cracks opening up, nothing too bad, but I decided to cover those with the wood glue and let it dry for 24 hours. When I came back, everything was really solid and it didn't really have too many cracks, but I did take my sandpaper and just sand everything to make sure it was nice and smooth, and also to make sure there was no splinters. Because the sanding process generated a decent amount of dust, I took a baby wipe and just wiped everything down. After that, I tested out the drawers to make sure they still fit inside each of the cubes. Everything is looking functional. And now we're ready, finally, to take out some white paint. I decided that I wanted to give this a coat of white paint to begin with because it felt like the wood was very porous and I felt like it was going to absorb my paint. When it comes to painting wood, it's better to be safe than sorry. Do a white base coat and you'll be so much happier. If you mix a bunch of your colors and then paint it and it keeps getting absorbed into the wood, you have to do so many layers and it just ends up being a lot more work than if you just made everything white. Now that everything is white, it is finally time for some colors. I am going to call this color Neon Pastel Lime Green. It's a lot of adjectives, but I was able to confirm that neon pastel colors are a thing. I thought that I was crazy and that everyone would say I was insane for thinking that neon pastels existed, but apparently they do. Neon is a hue or something, and if you mix white with a neon, then you get a neon pastel. I don't know. I don't make the rules, I just use them. This is what this is. Neon pastel lime green. I also whipped up a neon pastel tangerine color, which is probably my favorite neon pastel at the moment. I used to love neon pastel lime green, but neon pastel tangerine is where it's at. I hope you guys all know that I'm making these names up on the fly. Ooh, a neon pastel lemon yellow. I decided to paint each of the boxes different colors because I thought that was fun. This one is a purpley pink color, a neon purpley pink magenta, neon pastel magenta. We'll go with that. Back to the neon pastel lime green jewelry box. I'm taking out some paint pens and I'm going to be painting a design on the sides of the jewelry box. I started off with the darker green Posca paint pen and just gave a quick outline for what I wanted to draw. On this side of the jewelry box, I decided to paint a flower arrangement thing that had a lot of curly vines and leaves sticking out of it. I feel like I haven't painted flowers on my channel in a while, which is kind of weird because I actually really love painting flowers and drawing flowers. It's definitely a go-to for me. This flower has an outline that is not correct, but I did that on purpose, just so everyone knows. And this orange Posca paint pen exploded. One of the dangers of using Posca paint pens. I did soak it up with a napkin, and it really doesn't even look like anything happened at all. And last but not least, I added some details with some highlights and some darker colors. I really wanted it to look kind of messy and drawn on. And we're done. Let's move on to the other side of the jewelry box. For this side, I wanted to paint something that kind of went with the flowers, but was not a flower. So I decided to draw a butterfly. We all know I don't like butterflies in real life, but I do really like cartoon butterflies. I think they are pretty and fun to draw. They're just terrifying in person. You'll notice I drew the curly line in purple at first, and I actually went over it off camera in green, so it looked like a vine. And then on the bottom right, I drew my signature and tried to make it look like a curly vine as well. I added some highlights to the butterfly, and now we're ready for the front. So I put in each of these drawers. 2 of them have the flower facing forward, and 2 of them do not. For the bottom left box, I decided to draw, you guessed it, a flower. So I'm just painting the initial colors, and then once that's filled in, I'll add some more details. For the details, I went with some darker colors, and I wanted it to look like it was sketched on. Nothing is too exact. Moving on to the top right purple box, I am drawing 2... Yep, you guessed it, they're flowers. But this time, they're not just the other kind of circle-y flowers, they are tulips. 2 tulips. Once I finished coloring in those initial background colors, I added some other colors for some details, and I also added some white for some highlights. That's done, and now it's time to move our attention to the 2 orange neon tangerine boxes. I decided to just add those curly lines and vines around those flowers since there's just like a gaping hole in the center of the box. There's not really much else I could do on that one. And once I was done adding all of my paint to this, I took it outside and sprayed it with an acrylic gloss finisher. But wait, there's one last thing left to do. I found this at the Dollar Tree. It's a string of beads, and I actually decided to paint them green and use them as knobs for the jewelry box. Here's the thing, the top right box and the bottom left, the purple and the yellow boxes, I dropped that. They both didn't have knobs, so they were a little difficult to open. So I added those, and that is pretty much it for this project. This is probably my favorite Dollar Tree DIY or dollar store makeover that I've ever done. I found 4 different wooden cubes and a wooden bead set glued them all together, and it turned into something that is actually really functional. I had a ton of fun painting it, and I don't know, I just really like this one. Okay, we're done with the jewelry box, but now let's move on to the next room decor idea. Ideas. This is a wooden butterfly from the Dollar Tree, and when I saw it, I immediately had an idea for it. It's made out of wood, but it's very thin, and I feel like I could actually drill a hole in it. So I did just that, and I figured out, yes, I could drill a hole in it that is roughly the size of an earring. This idea is gonna be a way for you to create an earring display. The first thing that I did was paint the butterfly with a pink and purple ombre. I initially thought maybe I should drill all the holes first, but then I was worried that the holes would fill with paint, harden, and then I'd have to drill them again. So I did choose to paint the butterfly first. This may not have been the best idea. More on that later. I then took out my pencil and sketched out where I wanted each of the holes to go on this butterfly. The idea is that each dot will be a hole that you can stick an earring into. That's done, and now we're ready for the drill. So I just began drilling the holes. It was a little scary, to be honest with you. I don't really know how to use a drill. I had to take like 4 separate breaks, just because my arm is not strong enough to hold the weight of that drill for that long. It's very heavy. Somehow I persisted though, and we had all the holes. But unfortunately, the butterfly had a lot of splinters on it. So I took out my sandpaper and really sanded that all away, which actually worked really well. The only problem is that ruined my paint job. So I had to go back over it with paint. And then I decided to move on to some details on the butterfly, because I was not about to just leave it as an ombre. First of all, the butterfly needs a face. It needs to have a cute little tiny face right there. What a sweet, precious little cherub. The eyes are done, and I'm taking out 3 Posca paint pens, starting off with the back side, the side that had a bunch of splinters on it. There were definitely a lot of scars on this side. I think it's just because the wood is so thin and cheap that when you put a drill through it, it starts to splinter. I decided to lean into the splintering effects and create a drippy paint look like the butterfly is being stabbed by earrings. Fun, right? And on the other side, I decided to do some curly lines. I felt like this looks like a very 2000s curly lines and vines type of thing. Lines, vines, and trying times. I feel like the placement of this curly line is a little bit weird, but I feel like maybe I recovered from it by adding a second set of curly lines below it. Only time will tell. I then added some white highlights around the purple parts of the curly lines. I took it outside, quickly sprayed it, and ran away. And now it's time for this needle. I just took it and stabbed it through all of the holes one more time. Some of them were harder to get it through than others because paint had hardened inside it. And here we have the earring display before I have put any earrings on it. So to use this, you just stick your earring through the hole and put the earring back on the back side. And basically it's a way to organize and display your earrings so you can see everything that you own at once and you don't lose anything. I would say the level of difficulty for this project is a little higher than usual for me just because you needed a drill. So if you have someone in your house that actually knows how to use a drill, that would probably be safer than trying to do it yourself. I know the video made it look like I just randomly used a drill by myself, but I did want to just mention that this was my dad's drill and he showed me how to use it, and he was here while I was doing it, so it was actually not as unsafe as it appeared. So this is what the final thing turned out looking like. I am super happy with this one. I think it's really cute, and most importantly, it's a functional piece of decor for your bedroom. I have so many earrings that I feel like I'm actually going to use this in my bedroom. And here we have both of the pieces that I completed for this episode of dollar store makeovers / DIY room decor ideas. Like I said, when I first started posting videos on YouTube like 2 or 3 years ago, I did do a lot of DIY ideas, and I do love doing them, so if this is something you want to see more of, let me know, and I would love to do more. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week for another one. Bye!
Hey, playing songs